Kristen Mathews. I'm the Director of Support Brokerage at Eiros Group, and we also have Jennifer DeMauro, a family member and family advocate. And we're presenting to you self-directed employees, recruiting, hiring, and managing SDEs. Determining your fiscal intermediary is one of the first steps that you should take. The fiscal intermediary is essentially the payroll company. That's the way I like to look at it, because they're really like that middle person between you and the self-directed employees that handles their paychecks. Here's a brief overview of the two different types of FIs that are offered in New Jersey. We have Easter Seals and we have public partnership. It's important to get this process started as soon as possible. It can take anywhere from a few weeks, maybe a month or so, up to, I've seen it take up to 6 months to get enrolled with public partnership. The big differences between the two are with public partnership, you're the employer. So you determine in something called an employer of record to handle the staff. And then with Easter Seals, you're more so the employee for Easter Seals. Another big difference is with public partnership, you receive 1 hour of sick time for every 30 hours worked. With Easter Seals, you receive paid time off based on the number of hours you worked and the number of years that you've worked for the company. Also, public partnership does not offer health benefits at this time. Easter Seals does offer health benefits for employees working more than 30 hours a week. And with that, if you have an employee through Easter Seals that works with your son or daughter for 15 hours a week, and then they work with another family for 15 or 20 hours a week, that's still considered full-time for Easter Seals. Jennifer, do you want to touch base?
Yeah, I mean, we use PPL. My daughter uses PPL. She's living, independent with support, and we have one employee through an agency, which is my only other experience. And absolutely using PPL gives us much more control over who we hire and setting the rate of pay. And as we go through this presentation and we get to sort of the specifics of PPL, I can share a little bit more and also some of the challenges.
So with the recruiting process, it's important to get everybody involved. Do you want to talk about the circle of support?
Yeah, you want to pull up the first bullet? I'll go through those and
yeah.
Add a few. So, the circle of support is used in a couple different arenas, but really it is pulling together people that are invested or will be invested in, the person's life. And, family members obviously come first. You have siblings, cousins, and we have all of these people on Elena's circle of support. We also have neighbors, teachers, past teachers, because she's aged out, but we reached out to the local school. Family friends are definitely people that we brought in, people that know her and have a relationship with her. We also, it's not on the slide, but we also reached out to town leaders, the police department, the town council. The motive really there was so that they would also be aware that Elena is living in their community, and it's a vehicle for connecting her to some of those things in the community. Plus, they're good. They have their sort of finger on the pulse, so we can also learn a lot from them about other potential people that might be a support to Elena.
Mm-hmm. That networking.
Mm-hmm.
So flyers are a good place to start. There's a few different ways that you can look for a staff person, but flyers is an inexpensive way to start. Developing one flyer to post in various different areas, libraries, coffee shops, churches, grocery stores. All of these places typically will have some sort of bulletin board where they advertise businesses. I would suggest, if possible, to create a QR code so people can just scan it, or you can do the old fashioned of the picking the phone numbers off the bottom. You do need to ask permission in posting on bulletin boards. It varies by the location. Typically, these places, especially churches and grocery stores, will let you post flyers, but not every place does, and you really need to ask permission. Local colleges is another place. They've actually transferred a lot of the things that would be on a bulletin board onto a website called Handshake, where it's specifically for students and it goes by the college. And it's a good platform to post on as well. So putting together the job description is important before hiring the staff person. So then you can get a good idea of the specifics on what the tasks that you'd like the staff person to do. If your son or daughter likes working with animals, if they have pets, if they've always wanted pets, maybe it would be a good idea to look into some volunteer work at an animal shelter or walking some neighbors' dogs, things like that. And that would be something for you to talk with the possible candidates about as well, but we'll get into that down the road. If your son or daughter really enjoys exercising, if they like going for walks, if they would like to go to the gym, if they like swimming, if they like skiing, if they play tennis, any sports, to get those specifics down on paper. Gardening, a lot of local towns will have community gardens where you can purchase a small section and you can have your own little garden there and plant vegetables and flowers and whatever you'd like. If they're interested in helping out their community, working at the food pantry or the soup kitchen. So of course, everybody likes going out to eat for the most part, but it does get a little expensive. So I would suggest, when possible, to maybe just do some meal prep instead. For example, I have someone that loves cheeseburgers at this specific restaurant, and we've worked with that self-directed employee to make that specific burger with them at home. It's got cheddar cheese and a spicy aioli and cherry red peppers on it. It's really good, but of course it gets expensive, and making it at home is also a fun task for them to do.
And, you know, Kristen, I'll just add what my daughter likes to do is then she makes up a sign and names whatever restaurant she chooses and hangs that up in the kitchen while she's making her favorite meal from that restaurant.
I'll go eat there. Exploring the community is also, if they like just going out for a drive. We'll get into some specifics on the job ad in a little bit, but that would definitely be something to get down on paper and start visualizing, is if they do want to be out in the community, driving around, boots on the ground, walking around, things like that. So how can we best assist? It's definitely important to speak with the family and any current staff about the specifics on how to best support the person. If they need help with hygiene, what's the best way to do that? Because that's such a sensitive thing. What's the best verbiage to use as well? Cooking, if they need help cooking, if they're more on the independent side of cooking, but they might need a little help on the stove or in the oven. Grocery shopping, helping them make a list of the groceries that they need, having them pick out what kind of soup they want, what brand of milk. Do they like whole wheat bread? Do they like white bread? Chores around the house, some light cleaning. Involve the person as much as possible as well. And also to put that down that you'd like for the person, you'd like to assist the person in the cleaning activity. So folding laundry, instead of just having the self-directed employee fold all the laundry, get your son or daughter involved as well. If they need to start the dishwasher, add the detergent. Ooh.
Before we jump into the ad, I'll add, under job responsibilities, I'll take it a step backwards. We developed something called a vision for you, which you'll see in a minute, as well as a day in the life, basically. And those two documents together have a tremendous amount of detail, like Kristen was mentioning about likes and dislikes and, things that need to happen, things they want to happen. We use those documents for training, but in this situation, it helped us develop a job description, which then helps us form the job ad. We keep our job ad pretty general, but Kristen will get to some of that in a minute.
Mm-hmm. So with the job ad, it's very important to get down the specifics on the days and the times that you'd like a staff person. If you need somebody specifically on Saturdays and Sundays, I'd put that down as specific as you can be. If it's a little more flexible, you can add that as well, but as specific as you can be with the hours and the days and the times. Setting an hourly rate of pay is also important for the job ad. Keep in mind with public partnership, the max that you can pay a self-directed employee is $25 an hour, without an exemption. You can get an exemption, but those are kind of tough to get. And also, please remember to leave room to grow. Obviously, you love your staff and you want to pay them as much as possible, but you have to take into consideration that with public partnership, that $25 an hour max. So maybe if you started around $20 an hour and then increased from there, you'd have a little more room to grow. And also make sure that you check with your support coordinator and what your budget can handle, because you definitely don't want to max out your budget.
Yeah, and what we did in that area with Elena is we start them out at a particular amount depending on their experience. People with experience start out higher, but we also created a pay raise in the first year. So it's not really a trial, but after the first 6 months, we bump them up, and then after a year, we bump them up again if everything's going well. So that's worked well for us.
So what is important to a person and what is important for a person? A good example of this would be, I love cheeseburgers. And if I could eat cheeseburgers all day, every day, that wouldn't be very healthy. So that is important to me, but it's not so much important for me. And it's a good idea to have a mix of this information in your job ad. And we'll show you some examples, but the ways that they would like to be supported obviously need to be on there, but the specifics on how they need to be supported, whether that's hygiene, meal prep, things that they're not, that's like an afterthought sometimes, but their idea is that they want to go on walks all day and they want to go out into the community and play basketball and go to the Y and do all the fun things, but to have the mix of those two things on there is important.
Can you pull up? Yeah, there. That's so this is the vision for my best life. This was put together from Elena's perspective, but this is what we used to understand really what's important to her and what she needs and what she wants. And then from this, you can start to kind of carve out the job description. And this document is great for anybody that's going to be working for her. And then from this, you'll see we have a couple job ads.
So this is actually Elena's job ad, Jennifer.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, you'll see we kept it very broad. We listed some of the stuff she likes to do. We didn't get into great detail. We choose to do that once we interview them, but in here we just kind of kept it broad.
And we just have one more example here of a young man that enjoys being out in his community, going to the Y. He's very active. But again, it's the mix of those two things, because we have on here, he likes going for walks. That's important to him, going to the Y, the yoga, but he also needs assistance with some light cleaning around the house and the meal preparation. Screening resumes. I really like to look for things in common. For example, with that last job ad that we had up, I like to ask if they do like going out into the community, playing sports, if they're okay going to the gym, doing yoga. Location. It would be ideal if they know the town that they're going to be working in, but also to make sure that they're within 30 minutes of the person. That way, if it snows, if there's bad weather, there's still a good chance that they'll be able to make it to work. What are your must-have requirements? So think about what are the things that you need this candidate to be familiar with, whether it's using a Hoyer lift. Would you prefer that they do have a college degree? How many years experience do they have? If they have experience as a home health aide or a CNA, are there any specific trainings that you'd like them to have? So for the phone interviews, it's a good thing to keep in mind. If you wouldn't ask the question at a cocktail party, don't ask it in a phone interview. Asking the same questions to all of your candidates is very helpful. That way you can get a good read to determine the difference between the candidates. Some suggestions would be to ask how many years of experience do they have? What town they currently live in, so you can determine how long it's going to take them to get there, and with the snow and all of that. Are they currently working right now? Where are they working? What is their schedule like? If they're planning on leaving their current position right now. If they are leaving, why are they leaving? I like asking the same questions 2 or 3 times in an interview to get people talking as much as possible. For example, I'll ask the candidate, tell me about your job history, and they'll tell me all the different places they worked and what they did there. And then I'll ask them, okay, when you worked with so-and-so in Chester, what did you do when you walked in the front door? And then they gave me an example of what they did that day. So then I might get a different read. Remember that you're in control of the conversation. I used to get a little flustered sometimes in a phone interview and lose my place. And I would simply just say, hold on a minute, I'm taking some notes, and just to give myself a little bit of a pause. So also, I just want to touch base on the things that I would suggest not talking about in a phone interview. We can't ask specifically how old someone is. These are those cocktail party questions. So we can't ask how old someone is, their gender, if they have any children, their religion, political views. If it's an uncomfortable question, it's probably inappropriate. These are all things that we can't discriminate against, and we can't ask those specific questions.
I'd also add, one of the things that we ask of every person has to do with their, how much do they know about self-direction? Our experience has been there's a lot of people that apply that come out of the group home model, and it's a very different type of work. And so I like to, get a handle of where they are in that. Having said that, though, I will tell you that they, if they have a particular personality type, they'll be able to be brought on board in that area. To me, what we look for really is someone's personality, and are they patient, and do they have a sense of humor? I find those things are so much more important than specific experience working with people with disabilities, because people with disabilities, everybody's different. It's not cookie cutter, The other thing that's important to my daughter is, you don't ask what someone's religious beliefs are, but my daughter has a deep faith, and one of the things that's important to her is that her support people engage with her, with whether that's helping her read something or saying a prayer. So, you know, we like to find out their comfort level with that as well.
Great. Do you also want to talk about the hiring with the meet and greet?
Yeah. Before I talk about the specific of the hiring, I will say that a lot of this takes a lot of time. And as we get into the employee of record, you'll even see how much more time it takes. And that usually falls obviously on the family members. I have found that my daughter made a decision along with us to use money in the budget to hire Eiros, which is the support brokerage where Kristen is from. They assist us in all of these areas, and that has made a huge difference in the process being streamlined, about stress levels, you know, you know, that's a real critical component, and I don't want this to go by without saying that. Having said that, one of the things that we learned in the hiring practice was after the phone interview, they would do a meet and greet. And I found that my daughter, when they came for a meet and greet, in her mind, they were already hired. So it was hard if we didn't hire them. She wasn't sure where they went and what happened to them. So I would meet that person in person myself beforehand, before bringing her to her. It was almost like after, you know, we had kind of covered all the areas, then we would bring them to Elena to interview. And Elena has all her questions, you know, and she interviews them, which is awesome. So, but that's something we learned through this process.
Great. So an offer letter is not something that's a requirement, but it is very helpful down the road to have. I don't want to call it a contract. It's a piece of paper that states their job responsibilities in detail. So that way, the offer letter is really so there's no confusion down the road with these details of what the job entails. If it's going out into the community, do they need a reliable vehicle for transportation? Definitely have that in the offer letter. And that's something also I would suggest talking about in the phone interviews during that interview process, but making sure they've got the reliable vehicle for transportation, as well as a valid driver's license that's not expired. If you would like for the self-directed employee to assist in taking them to do some volunteer work, where you would like that to be. If the person needs help finding that volunteer work, if they need help with meal prep, if they need help cooking, if they need help with hygiene, things like that. The schedule is also a good idea to put on that offer letter. Even if you don't have specific hours, to at least do days, but as specific as possible is great. Holidays is another thing. Will they be able to take the day off when there's a holiday, or do you need them to be with your son or daughter even on holidays? We had a situation this past Christmas that the person who lived in his own home was going to be going to his family's on Christmas Day, but he was going to be in his own home Christmas Eve, and he needed staff. The rate of pay is a big one that I would suggest putting in the offer letter. So then there's no confusion again. And also if there's going to be a regular increase that you spoke about. So if during the interview, if you said, so it's starting at $20 an hour and down the road, we'll talk about an increase. Well, if you have it on paper in that offer letter, you can say that you can revisit the increase in 90 days or 180 days, whatever you'd like.
Yeah, these are really important too, Kristen, because up till this point, everything's done verbally. So there really is no record of the conversations that you have in the interview. So this is a great way to solidify some of that. We had a situation where, you know, once they got there, they said that they had no idea that she needed to be assisted in the bathroom. And, you know, it's those kind of hygiene, some of the more sensitive issues that it's important to put in there. Yes,
and then having them sign it, for everybody involved to sign it. and then put it away for if you need it later on. So what you will need for onboarding a public partnership. Bear with me 1 second. So this is all of the information that the employer of record will need for onboarding a self-directed employee through public partnership. These last three are for something called the I-9, which is for, it's a requirement, but some of these can be replaced with other documentation. I put these on here because these are traditionally the documents that everybody has. And also the employer of record is responsible for physically seeing these documents, the driver's license and the social security card. How long does it take? I wouldn't make any plans just yet. It can, I've seen it take a few weeks. I've seen it take about 4 weeks, and I've also seen it take about 4 months. So I wouldn't make any plans just yet. Also keep in mind, even if they are a current public partnership employee, they still need to go through all of these hoops again. They still need to get their fingerprints, their drug screen, the carry check. They need to go through all of these things again, even if they're a current PPL employee.
And, you know, Kristen, I'll add, that's some of the frustrations that we've had, is how long the process takes. Because, you know, you're looking for someone because obviously you're really in need of finding a support person. I've paid out of pocket until we could get them approved, because it's either that or, you know, disrupt Elena's whole schedule. So, you know, that's been frustrating. And the clause that you just talked about, where someone has already just gone through this whole process, they have to do it again. It, you know, seems silly to me, especially with modern technology, but hey, you know, but these are and I understand it's a relatively new thing that's happening. And I will say that the state has been very receptive to us suggesting challenges and solutions, but I do hope they make it a little bit more streamlined. And also, it's very difficult for some of the support people to do the process themselves. Some of them have needed a lot of hand-holding. I have not personally done it because I'm not an employee, but Eiros, again, the support brokerage agency, has saved our life in these areas, and they have, you know, really walked alongside some of these people in that process, because it can get very complicated, and they can help expedite it.
We try. So when the billable rate sheet is complete, the self-directed employee can begin. That is one of the final stages, but always, always, always check with your support coordinator to confirm they've been added to your plan before having the self-directed employee begin. Managing self-directed employees. So the EOR is the employer of record. They are, for public partnership, they are responsible for approving timesheets every 2 weeks. So that's confirming that the self-directed employee worked the days they said they worked. And also they take some notes as well, and confirming that those notes are accurate. The employer of record is also responsible for keeping up-to-date HR records and a policy and procedure manual, because again, remember that they are the employer. Remembering special events. Everybody likes being told happy birthday on their birthday. Also remembering any anniversaries, the anniversary of when they first started working. It's important to have clear communication with all of your staff. Some people like keeping a logbook. We have some people that like using a group chat or a very long email that they go back and forth with, so everyone's up to date on all of the things going on. Make reasonable requests. You wouldn't want to ask a self-directed employee to clean your bedroom, your son or daughter's bedroom, the other son or daughter's bedroom, clean the kitchen top to bottom every single day. You want to make your self-directed employees happy. You want to keep them happy and have them coming back to work and excited to come back to work. And if they're scrubbing toilets 3 times a day, and they're not being spoken to in a nice way, things like that, just making reasonable requests.
Yeah, and I'll add, Elena lives independent with support, so thank God there's no chance of my husband's underwear having to be washed. But what we do, because it's more than one support person, obviously she has a team of 5. We came up with shared staff responsibilities, and each staff is sort of the leader on an area. It doesn't mean they only have to do that, but we're hoping that they kind of come together and work as a team just to ensure that everything happens that Elena needs, and that things get done, nothing falls through the cracks.
And that's absolutely reasonable as well. And it's also down on paper, which is a big thing. Scheduling, the employer of record is responsible for doing the scheduling for their staff as well. And we also suggest having a per diem person as a backup. For example, if someone wants to take a holiday, if they want to go away for a few days, to have a per diem person as a backup is a great idea. So then you do have that person in your back pocket that can come in and work. And I think that's all we have today. Thank you so much.
Kristen, if you don't mind, I'm just going to add, how we deal with this with the employee of record is my husband and I split these responsibilities along with the assistance from Eiros. Like, for instance, Eiros helps us with scheduling and finding, people and helping us develop the communication stuff we were just talking about, like with staff responsibilities. But it's a lot, unfortunately, this system of self-direction still falls predominantly on the families. And it's a lot sometimes, it just really is. And, it's not when you're actually being like an HR person, which is a skill set. There's people with college degrees that do HR. And in this situation, the average parent is expected to do it. So, and there's not a whole lot of training beforehand on that. So, it's the devil's in the detail. And again, we rely on our support brokerage. We rely on Eiros to really help us and to answer questions so that we don't mess this up.
Thank you. We're here if you have any other questions, and also any of the slides, any of the documentation that we showed would also be available if you'd like it as well.
Good luck.